For the past week or so, I've been uploading shorts relating to how some of TF2's weapons and mechanics could work in real life. Do real life logic and TF2 mix? No, not at all. Not even gun experts can comprehend TF2's menace. But I'm making a video about it anyway. I've combined the content of all the shorts into a single mashup in this video, albeit with a lot of revisions since some of these shorts had errors. We are starting off with the Scattergun first. Looking at the gun, we can immediately tell that this thing is going to be difficult to break down. The Scattergun seems to be a hybrid of a pump action, a double barrel, and a lever action. To top it off, there's a drum mag located in the middle. Here's a very scuffed explanation of how it could work. Before combat, Scout loads 38 shells into the loading gate. If we use the inspect animation, we can actually just barely see it on the bottom of the gun. From there, all the shells are stored in a type of spiral shape. Every time the trigger is pulled, the gun will switch between barrels. After, empty shells are stored into a type of reserve that is capable of holding up to 6 ammo. This reserve is located on the right side of the drum mag. When Scout pulls the lever, the ejection port is open and the shells are dispensed. There are a couple flaws with this, of course. For starters, the ammo would have to be shrunk down in order for them to actually fit in this drum mag. The other option, of course, would just be to increase the size of the drum mag. Even then, that would just make the gun very bulky. So what if he just reworked its firing mechanism entirely? Well, that's what hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades did in this case. This version of the scattergun turns the drum mag into a rotating cylinder. You could say it's a double-barreled lever action shotgun. Every 2 shots, the user has to pull the lever in order to open the ejection port. 2 shells are dispensed during this. When this is done, the next 2 shells are positioned at the barrels. It's a very clever rework in my opinion. So while you could technically recreate a scattergun in real life, it probably wouldn't be very practical. TF2 shotguns have an interesting design choice. Most of them have cartoonish proportions. Some sawed-off shotguns exist, including stock, the reserve shooter, the scattergun, and the backscatter, while others have just been scaled down. Some examples include these Force of Nature, Soda Popper, Panic Attack, and Babyface's Blaster. However, there are some that do break this rule. Such weapons include the Family Business, Frontier Justice, and Widowmaker. A shotgun is sawn down when the barrel is cut down in length. The stock is sometimes removed too. In real life, this is done to make the shotgun more concealable. In-game, every mercenary may have their own reason for carrying a smaller shotgun. Scout needs to carry lighter weapons since he always runs around fast, so a smaller weapon is needed to complement this. Soldier, Heavy, and Pyro need to carry more weight because of their primaries. Engineer might do it just because he's from Texas. Another explanation is that Manco just needs to save money in every way possible. Maybe cutting down the barrel and stock saves a lot of money in the long run. TF2 shotguns and pistols are designed for left-handed people. By this, I'm referring to the placement of the ejection ports on every gun. When the ejection port spits out empty casings or shells, they're going to be burning hot. Since all of the mercs hold the weapons as if they were right-handed, burning cartridges are pretty much being pelted right into their faces. This isn't the only case where Valve games have had this design choice. Counter-Strike Source and 1.6 have similar design choices, where a lot of weapon components are mirrored. This is because the original modeler for the weapons was left-handed himself. By the time of release, the view models were only flipped. I'm not sure if this was the same case for TF2, but it's an interesting design choice nonetheless. Despite Soldier being an idiot, we have to give him some credit. He made a working homemade rocket launcher, even if it is kind of a safety hazard. The Beggar's Bazooka is a weapon that has been constructed from various pipes. It's only held together using electrical tape, bolts, and bands. Such weapons do exist in real life. They're primarily seen in guerrilla warfare, where weapons are usually in short supply. While homemade rocket launchers are effective, they can also be very faulty. You can even pose a major threat to the user if something goes wrong when firing it. Although not intentional, this factor is kind of reflected onto one of the downsides for the Beggars. By loading too many rockets into the chamber, the user will hurt themselves. Despite that, Soldier probably awarded himself a medal for his craftsmanship for this one. You know what? I think he earned it. On the topic of homemade weapons, let's talk about some of Pyro's primaries. The stock Flamethrower, Backburner, and Degreaser are all homemade weapons. Although Pyro's history will always be unknown, we can tell that they're a good engineer. Let's first focus on the Flamethrower and Backburner. They pretty much use the exact same model. The Flamethrower has been made using a gas pump handle, propane tank, a blowtorch, and different pipes. When Pyro pushes the handle, propane is retrieved from this tank. It's then sent through a hose that's outside the view model. From there, the propane makes contact with the blowtorch at the nozzle. And there's your WM1 lore. The Degreaser is similar, yet it's more complex in design. For it, the Pyro uses a car muffler, fire extinguisher, gas pump handle, stovetop burner, and exhaust pipe. In this case, the fuel is being stored in the fire extinguisher, ironically enough. Here's the more confusing part of the degreaser though, the stovetop burner at the front. The degreaser doesn't have an actual pilot to create the flames, meaning the fuel is somehow lit inside the burner. For a burner to stay lit, it would need its own separate fuel source. Luckily, this detail is present on the model. We can trace this hose from the burner to the cylinder on the side here. A separate hose runs from the nozzle to the main fuel in the fire extinguisher. The more effective design in this case would be stock, since it's more simple and requires less maintenance. You can somewhat recreate the Airblast in real life. While you can't deflect arrows, rockets, and grenades unfortunately, there's still a couple overlapping features. If a gas is quickly released from a pressurized container, it'll act like a spray of sorts. This is because of the sudden change in pressure. In this state, it can be used to push small debris and extinguish small fires. Fire uses the same fuel for flames and compression blasts. Technically, this can be done if there's nothing to ignite the fuel. If we were to do this in real life though, it'd be a lot safer to use something that isn't combustible. You could technically make the Airblast a real-life attachment for a flamethrower. For it to work, you would need a separate mechanism for the air alone. This one's a bit of a headache, so bear with me on this one. Despite being so compact, the Stickybomb launcher somehow holds 8 grenades at once, while holding 32 in the reserve. It's implied that the launcher operates by pulling back this charging handle to move the grenades into the chamber. Additional grenades are stored in this drum magazine. If you wanted to fit 40 grenades into this thing, then you would have to downsize the ammo by a lot. But let's totally disregard that for now and try to guess how it would work. I think the sticky bombs kind of act like balloons in this case. When initially loaded, the bombs are stored in a type of deflated state. When Demo pulls back the charging handle, not only does he create pressure in the chamber, he also adds some pressure to the bombs. From there, pulling the trigger fully inflates the sticky bomb, causing it to take full shape. The payload itself is stored within another sphere, so the explosive contents remain separate from the outside elements. Again, it doesn't make sense at all, so let's look to H3VR and see what they do. H3VR does a complete revamp of how the sticky bomb launcher is loaded. This version must be manually loaded by using the charging handle to open this loading gate here. From there, the launcher is fed using a clip. It still fires the exact same like the original version, but the reloading is just completely different. Not only are we going to be overanalyzing the sticky bomb launcher, we're going to be going in depth about the grenade launcher and just the grenades themselves. According to Meet the Demo Man, the explosives work by using
one crossed wire, one wayward pinch of potassium chloride, one errant twitch, and
Well, there is one thing that I could pull out of that sentence, and that is potassium chloride. Potassium chloride is a real explosive that is triggered when lit. But what we really want to pay attention to is how sensitive it is to impacts. If dropped from a high place, the shock can trigger an explosion. And guess what Demo's grenades do? They detonate on impact. Sometimes at least. The material for Demo's grenades is probably impact sensitive to some degree. Inside there's a payload carrying some potassium chloride. When the grenade hits the surface, the impact triggers the explosives inside. Of course, there's probably a couple things wrong with this. One limitation being that the grenades will shatter immediately when hitting players. Yet if they hit any other surface, they'll just tumble on the ground a little bit before exploding. We also need to talk about how the sticky bombs may function. A similar process probably occurs, but this time the explosive reaction is being contained until Demo Man decides to detonate the stickies. My guess is when the bombs flicker, it's a sign that the explosive reaction is completed. It's just that it's being contained until Demo Man pushes some type of trigger to release it. So as it turns out, all the information that I gathered from a 5-minute Google search has turned out to be a complete lie, since if we look at the end of Meet the Demo Man here, we can read this disclaimer at the bottom, and it says, all information regarding Demo Man grenade behavior was obtained from Australians believed to be reliable at the time. It is subject to the possibility of errors, omissions, or nerfing without notice. I think they just explode using forbidden Scottish magic. I don't know. In TF2, a backstab will always be an instant kill. So can a knife to the back deal 600% more damage in real life? Yes. The deadliness of a backstab would be dependent on which region of the body is targeted. Any damage to the spinal cord, lungs, kidneys, and any type of major blood vessels would probably be the most deadly. It could be a kill, just not instant. At the bare minimum, you would be left in critical condition. In the case of other mercs though, I doubt that a single backstab would be fatal for power classes such as Heavy, Demoman, Pyro, and Soldier. They're a lot more bulky, which would make it hard for Spy's knife to kill in one strike. For a backstab to be a one-hit kill, he would have to target the back of the neck. Damaging the back of the neck would lead to paralysis, and there's a very high chance the victim won't survive, since you're pretty much severing the spinal cord. I've always thought that the Sapper has one of the more cooler designs in the game. Luckily, we can see how it works just from the view model alone. Sapper resembles a portable radio of sorts that has since been converted into a mini generator. The dial is most likely responsible for controlling the amount of volts that is outputted. The switches on the left are probably used for activating and controlling the current. The meter is probably used for reading the voltage. On the back, there's a pair of extendable clamps that carry the electricity. Spy most likely targets weak points in engineers' buildings. These components are responsible for keeping the building alive. Said parts get instantly fried when hit by the voltage the Sapper produces. When the weak point is destroyed, it just shuts down the entire structure. NG's 11 PhDs can't prevent that, unfortunately.